Hi, everybody. Whit and I are together, and Whit's visiting Colorado, so she's close by. We've been doing
Yes.
lots of adventures, so that's
Yes.
a lot of fun.
So many fun adventures. And I'm
Mhm.
loving just seeing all the mountains because this Midwestern girl is not used to the elevation, but I'm loving it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
elevation can be a little intense, but beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Mhm.
And you're not seeing it at the most beautiful time, like everything's turned
Right.
brown already.
I know, which
Yeah.
honestly is kind of great because I'm appreciating it regardless because I'm just so not used to this area. So I'm like, wow. And everyone's like, this isn't even the most beautiful part. And I was like, it's still pretty to me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we went to
Yeah.
an amazing place recently. John had to work, so he didn't come, and he's come on some of our adventures for
Yes.
sure. And he's had fun. He took us to
Mhm.
the Alligator Place.
Yes.
So that was fun.
And the
And
sand dune.
and the sand dunes, yes. The
Yeah.
alligators, he really wanted to go. I could
Mhm.
feel it. Like he wanted to go.
He's so
And
excited.
it is such a bizarre, it's very cool, but very bizarre. Like you would not expect it in the middle of a mountain valley,
No.
but there
I
are
didn't know. I
hundreds.
didn't know what you were talking about at first. I was like, there are alligators here? What?
Yeah. It's
Yes, there
very
are.
funny. Yep. So if you ever go to the Great Sand Dunes, you can go see a bunch of alligators as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we went to Sedona, which was amazing. The energy there, very intense. And we met some beautiful people.
Mhm.
And kind of how was the drive down for you, Whit? Like it was a long drive.
Yes, it was a long drive. And typically when I drive, I do like 5 or 6 hours at a time, but we almost doubled that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's helpful to have someone else in the car because we pretty much just talked the whole way.
Yeah.
And so that was helpful a ton, for me at least, because
It was,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, part of what I'm doing and part of why I'm in Colorado is like I'm on this like adventure right now. Like I sold like most of my stuff, packed it in my car, and I'm just kind of intuitively like jumping around the country and maybe outside the country too. And so but when I'm driving by myself, I'm like I'm listening to music. I have maybe an audiobook on. I'm like do do do, and then I get bored real quick. So
Yeah.
thankfully, Honey was there, and both of us were chatting, and like, but but yeah, I mean, I could feel even when we were just like, because we went through that like Four Corners spot,
Yeah.
um, and just feeling the differences in the different areas was really interesting for me. And has been interesting like on my adventure too when I'm because I was like in Nebraska for a day. That felt different to me than Colorado does. And just picking up on those differences. And I think the biggest thing for me is I'm practicing being in neutrality as much as possible. So even when my vessel feels something different, I don't immediately go, "Oh, that's bad, that's scary." I'm like, "It's different. I've never felt this in this body before. What is that?" Like I try to like come at it with curiosity. So I think that was kind of one of the biggest things like coming into Arizona and then coming in specifically into Sedona. I was really working hard to just be like neutral. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing. Like the geography. So I'll show the pictures. It
yes.
is absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The energy can be off the chain, as they would say.
Yeah.
So this is on the way to Sedona or on the
Mm-hmm.
way back. So I took these on the way back. And to me, it felt like a dragon. And these were like the spikes on the dragon's back. So these 3 pictures were really, it just went on forever and ever, like miles and
Yeah.
miles of these spiky mountains all in a line.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very trippy. And then we got to see all these beautiful rock formations, which, I would get different messages like this was a city. So to me, this was a
Mm,
melted city. And I could feel that in another density, the city is still there. And it's absolutely beautiful, but it
mhm.
had been melted in this density, like it was destroyed already.
Right.
Um, and this was amazing to me. So like this, I don't know if they called it a crown, I can't remember, but this felt like some kind of an observatory type part of another, part of the city that was
Mm-hmm.
there. So there was all these interesting things. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, and then there was tons of trees, so ancient trees that were huge, and the
Yes.
top was cut off. Um,
Yeah, you were picking up on a lot of specifics there. Like even the drive in, like the minute we saw the rock formations, you're like, that I'm getting dragon energy, I'm getting tree, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of information coming through.
yeah,
Um, and from my perspective, it was more generalized, like it was more a general kind of just different feeling. And again, because I'm in this practice of neutrality and kind of just challenging myself to stay neutral. I wasn't getting into the specifics as much, but it was so cool for me to hear Honey's perspective on like, oh, I'm picking up on this and this and this. It was really cool. And I think it's really amazing too. Like if any of you ever go to Sedona or have, every single person who goes is going to have a different experience and
mhm.
kind of perceive different things and all of that. So it's really fun to be with a group of people and everyone sharing their different kind of experiences of what they're seeing and they're knowing and they're feeling and all that. So
Yeah, yeah, it was really interesting, and that was really illustrated by. So one of the people that we went with had this great idea and arranged to have us go on a UFO tour.
yes.
So we did this,
Yes.
and the tour guide, which you're just sitting out there, kind of cold and staring up, with these,
Yeah, we weren't walking around. It was
yeah,
like camping chairs, blankets, binocular things.
right.
Yeah.
And she was like, there's a UFO, there's a UFO. And she was pointing with her laser pointer. And it was amazing. And the stories she was telling were very similar to all the stuff that we've been hearing, about the way the world is changing and everything. And it was interesting to listen to her point of view because it was just slightly different. And
Mm-hmm.
it was fun. And here was somebody that was probably in their 60s, I would say, telling us the story of how the world is unfolding right now and how it was going to come back. And we saw so many UFOs, and that was fun.
Yes. That was so much fun. And I really appreciated that she told a little bit of her personal story and she has been involved in UFO work since the 80s.
Yeah.
So even now, if you were to talk about UFOs in certain circles, some people are like, okay. But more and more people are like, yeah, that's a thing. Absolutely. ETs are a thing. But the 80s, I was like, okay, you've been living and embodying that truth for you for decades. I was very impressed and I was like excited for her that she's been doing this and living that for so long. So
Yeah, it was great. And the more that we were like, oh, yeah, we know about that and whatever, she just
yeah.
told us more and more and more stuff. And it was so much fun to watch somebody be able to talk about
Yes.
things that maybe she wouldn't have said all of that if we
Mhm.
hadn't been her audience. So
Yep.
I thought that was really, a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember the person who set up the viewing or the tour for us she asked if potentially we could have like a private thing with just like a small group of us. And I can't remember what the lady said, like maybe if it works out that way. But then when she met us, she's like, yeah, I decided to keep it private. And I'm like, I think that was for a reason.
Yeah, it was
For
really,
sure.
really good.
But I guess with your experience with the UFOs, uh, what were you kind of experiencing and what were you seeing?
Well, I really appreciated that right across from us was like a line of 4 UFOs on a ridge that she said was unreachable by humans. And you could see these lights, and they just stayed lit up the whole time we were there.
Just chilling.
And they had some kind of a community inside of one of the rock formations or the mountains there. I felt like they had been waiting for us to get it together for a very long time. That's kind of what came through. And
Yeah.
also that sometimes they walk amongst the people in Sedona. So some of the people that you see are actually ETs. And the people were interesting there, I will say.
Yeah.
Like some of them felt like ETs. They didn't feel like human beings. And some of them felt like archetypes. So I've noticed that NPCs, or people that are not big players in whatever we're doing here, the ascension process, they have a certain archetype, or they're addressing something, or sometimes they come in to almost like throw you off course. Like you're like, what did they just say?
Going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
So
would the whole experience, but specifically to the UFO tour stuff and just feeling into that, like again, I think there's a lot of right now exposing our vessels to a lot of different things to kind of allow us to accept and to be able to see and perceive. And so yeah, being a part of that tour, I think for me, I can't speak for everyone who was there, but like for me was super helpful to be like, oh, the next time I see that in the sky, or the next time I have that feeling when I'm maybe closer to an ET or whatever, my vessel will accept it more,
yeah.
Because like intellectually in my mind, I'm like, it's fine, I'm safe, I'm good. But like my vessel needs to kind of catch up with some of that. And like you've said so many times in your videos, and like there's different movies we can be watching and TV shows that kind of help us kind of with that as well. But experiencing a brand new place where there's so much energy going on,
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, I almost needed to take like extra naps when I got home.
I know. I was worn out after that trip.
I know.
So but I felt like the UFO thing was a huge highlight of the experience. And then also getting to know these people that are, a part of our, as you would call it, like soul tribe. That was a lot of fun. And it's really interesting how when you meet your soul tribe, like it's almost like you're instantly in a family situation. And families are funny. So it was a funny, like you immediately knew them, like it was comfortable very quickly and fun. And also you were noticing all the quirkiness that we have because of our humanness.
Yes.
So like we all have these quirky things that we do. And I think that was pretty funny.
Yes.
So yeah.
It's so interesting. And I think you and I have talked about this, but it's relevant to the situation with meeting more people, where like our souls, go way back and have so many experiences together and all that stuff. And our vessel again is like, this is my first time meeting you. Like I had never met Honey before like 2 weeks ago in
Right.
person. but it immediately, there was this knowing there and this like comfortableness, but also still trying to navigate the like vessel human part of it too, of like, okay, like, yes, I feel comfortable with you, but also we're still navigating the, the,
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of like the
Still getting to
script
know.
almost.
Mhm.
Yeah, just kind of getting to know each other on that human vessel level. But the same thing happened in Sedona too. And then also something that I personally was working on too while I was there is just really feeling into what it feels like to be honoring myself and being in my own sovereign energy. And that's something I've practiced for a while, but again, like you're in the brand new place, brand new people, and it kind of tests you a little bit more. At least it felt like that for me. And so I was playing around with that a little bit too. Like, okay, the first day I didn't do as good. I put really, I'm trying really hard not to put labels like that. But on the first day, I maybe wasn't as in my own energy as I would have preferred. The second day, I was like, okay, I do a really good job, or I do a better job being in my own energy when I have music on, or if I like kind of wander away and I'm in nature by myself for a little bit, then I can wander back. So I kind of just gave Honey a heads up. I'm like, if I disappear, it's not personal. It's just, it's just me being in my own energy and practicing that. So that was kind of I was really appreciative to be able to practice that
Mhm.
with Soul Family and Soul Tribe, Soul Group, however you want to put it. So it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. And I
Yeah.
think the energy there, like in Sedona, you can feel the ancient, like really ancient energy. And it's not all nice in Sedona as far as the energy goes. So we were all navigating that as we were getting to know each other. And it was really good. Like we had a really good interaction. I
Mhm.
had a lot of fun, but you could
Yeah.
feel the undercurrent in the land. Like there was one spot where I was like, ooh, they did some really bad stuff right here. And clearing that out so that we could actually sit there and enjoy the nature,
Mhm.
because it was a beautiful spot, but you could feel that something very bad happened there. And I'll just say very bad, but
Yeah.
something that you would say was very like negatively polarized.
Sure.
So it was just a really interesting place. And I do think that it's connected to the Grand Canyon and that there was a very large civilization going on there. So,
So many
yeah.
layers happening there. Yeah, you bringing up the clearing piece actually reminded me of another aspect of what I was practicing, which kind of, it was like the second day, or was it the first day? I kind of like went off on my own with another person, but then he kind of allowed me to do my own thing for a bit. And I was like sitting at this tree, and I like hadn't yet kind of really intentionally like tapped into any of the energies there. I was just kind of allowing myself to experience and to be.
Mhm.
But as I was like sitting on this rock really close to this tree, all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm not used to this area with my vessel. So anything that I'm doing here, if I am clearing, or if I am building anything or whatever, I want to make sure the intention that I'm setting is like for the greatest good of this land and anybody who resides here, whether they're human, ET, people, whatever, you know what I mean, animals. And that felt really important for me to like set that
Mhm.
intention on this like mountain cliff thing that I was sitting at. And then all of a sudden this like big gust of wind like blows past. And I was like, okay. I was like, I just kind of took that as like confirmation that like, yes, like there is a lot going on here. And yeah, like because I wasn't diving in deep into what was going on, I was just like, I feel like I just need to set the intent. And then it was interesting because then on the walk out, my body was kind of naturally kind of moving in ways that felt like I was kind of, yeah, that I haven't done a ton, but I've done a little bit where I was kind of I don't know, working magic, slinging magic, whatever. I was doing some cool stuff, but I was very intentionally like, this is only for the greatest good. And if it's not, send whatever I'm doing back up to source. Don't let it stick. Like,
Yeah.
and just being very like humble and aware that like we are very powerful beings, and I just didn't want to enforce my will onto this land that I had never been to, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it was just being very careful and cautious with what I was doing. And that felt really important, like an important thing for me to learn that time as well. So I took so many learnings away from that trip, and it wasn't very
Yeah.
long. We were there for a couple days.
Yeah. I mean, the travel was almost as long as the time we were there.
That's true.
Yeah. Um, and I feel like Sedona has so many energetic layers, and the cleanup of the energy there is going to take a while. Like there's going to be a lot of kind of like, you like a layer cake, like, oh, well, I put way too much frosting in there between those two layers, and you scrape some of it away. Like,
Yeah.
it just felt like there were a lot of layers that needed to be lifted and looked at and cleared. And I think that would take quite a while for people to get done, honestly. And I don't know, I can't imagine living there full time at this point. I think it would be really hard. But it's so beautiful. So
It's
you
so
have
beautiful.
this whole other aspect where you're like, wow, it's so amazing. But then you also know that there's a lot of energy that needs to be kind of cleared up over time, and not all at once, because it would be too much for the
Yeah.
people there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Too much. And yeah, I think you're spot on with that. That feels right to me. If it's like incremental, so we're not like disrupting. I think that's probably what I was picking up on, of like, don't move too quick, too fast with this stuff.
No, you might uncork something that you don't want to be uncorked at that point.
No. And then
That's what
almost
I was feeling like. I'm like, okay.
right. And then almost
Yeah.
the cleanup of that, then it makes things take even longer. And it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sedona is a place where a lot of stuff happened, and it just needs to be kind of washed through very slowly, I guess I'd say. Yeah. A lot of big
Yeah.
energy. And
Yeah.
it kind of reminds me of the Egyptian energy, which is all over the world, which is the Atlantean energy.
Yep. And
Yep.
you found some really beautiful rocks.
Yes. Yes. We went to a couple rock shops, and that's where the majority of the money that I spent went. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And I did find one beautiful little round red rock, so it's probably like an inch. And that was just, I loved that. The Sedona red clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
It was so amazing. And some of it was white too. So I do think that the crystal cities exist there in another density, which as we vibrate higher and higher, we will actually be able to see those cities, And one opinion that came in from someone that we met was that the cities will be dropped there, that they're being built and they will be dropped there. But I actually get they're already there. It's just that we haven't vibrated fast enough to see them yet. I don't know what movie. There's a movie, I think it's called Lucy, where she illustrates some of that stuff about the vibration. She does it really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another
And that's a
movie I need
trippy
to add to
movie.
my list.
Yeah. I love to just do movie stuff that shows people because then your mind will accept it better, I feel like, which
Yep.
is, you know, how the bad guys kind of got in there. But now the movies, it feels like they're tailored for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, remember that? I don't know if you got to watch it, that video. I don't know where I put those books. Anyway, there was a video that was really good from the guy he wrote Total Recall.
Oh, yes.
What's that one? The one where Blade Runner, maybe?
Blade Runner, yep.
Yeah. So if you can find his interview on YouTube, like, it is so worth it, because he's describing the parallels, he's describing what's about to happen, that we're about to know what's actually going on. And all of it is the upgrade of the human mind being able to comprehend it. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Let's go, human mind.
Yes. Yeah, because our bodies are actually much better off than they were just a couple years ago. And it's the mind that kind of holds things back. But it's a lot. It's a lot of programming to let go of sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching, I mean, similar to what I was talking about before about how I label things, the words that I'm using, even around like programming or like anything that I perceive as like more negative. I've been working really hard to use the word challenge. So then it's something that I more easily like overcome. And it's something that I'm like, oh yeah, that's just a challenge that I'm gonna like totally like surpass or whatever. So yeah, that's been a trick that I've been doing for myself lately, of just like, what challenges are coming my way today? All right, I got that done.
Yeah. Yeah. And we totally do. The energies are high right now. Like, there is a lot going on in the astral plane. We are very close to like shifting, and we're actually shifting every day. So that's really interesting how that's going. And you kind of get like a lightheaded feeling sometimes when you're in the middle of shifting from one parallel to another. So if you notice that, you could be shifting.
Yeah, most times I don't have a physical sensation, but the other day I did. And it was like on a hike, and I was like at the top of a ridge, and I'm like, not now.
Right.
I was like, I'm just gonna sit down for a second. Hold up.
Yeah, it's such a trip. I know.
Yeah.
I've had them like, and I'm standing like right in front of the counter,
Yeah.
something in the kitchen, and I'm doing something, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm hanging on to the counter because it feels like your body's shifting too. Yeah, you don't want to be on a ridge during that time.
No. I mean, thankfully it was like I was at a very flat and I had plenty of space around me. It wasn't like I was like dangling over an edge or anything, but I was still like, wow, okay. Now it's happening now. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, extreme sports might be a little more challenging right now.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to be doing them.
Yeah.
But that was Sedona, basically, like, beautiful, very intense energy, amazing people. Like, there was a lot of amazing people, and the people that we went there to meet, really amazing. And we really are glad that we met you, and we're thankful. And we navigated some bizarre stuff together as a group. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful experience, I thought.
Yes. 100%. And I can guarantee that if I were to go back next week, I would have a different experience. Like, just energetically, people that I talk to, you know what I mean? Like, moment by moment, it's like so different. And so yeah, if I were to go back in a week or a month or a year, it would be very different. Which actually, if anybody who's watching this has been, like, I'd love to hear about your experience, what you feel when you go there, or when you've been there, like, what did you notice or anything? I'd love, because that's like one of my favorite things is hearing everybody's perspective. So if
Yeah.
anybody, I will be like in the comments, like reading, be like, what did you
Yeah.
see? What did you experience there? So
We would love to know because it
yes.
was definitely a trip, you know, like it's like no other place, I would say. And there's a few places that are probably intense like that, but I haven't been to one for a long time that I can think of that
Mhm.
was that intense energetically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
For sure.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm so glad you got to be my buddy while we went there. It worked out so
Yay. It
good.
was so fun.
Yeah.
Good travel buddies.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's to the next adventure, and I hope you guys go do something fun.
Yes, go
Yes.
explore, go have fun.
Mhm. Bye, everybody.